Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Let's just wait a couple more minutes to let some more people join. And while we're waiting, let me give a quick introduction. For those of you who don't already know us, we are Darrow, and we are an AI lab for the legal ecosystem. And you'll hear a little bit more about that shortly. But talking about us personally, my name is Jordan Grimmer-Tufik. I am a lawyer. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I've been working at Darrow here for almost 3 years. When I was back in New Zealand, I clerked in the courts for 2 years and then worked for a number of years in commercial litigation. I love law. I'm very passionate about it, and passionate about making law work for lawyers as well. That includes legal tech. And so, I work in a team of lawyers at Darrow called the Legal Consulting Team, and we help lawyers and other people who deal with the law use our products and do incredible things. And I'm here joined with Yoni Bendayan. Yoni, you're also from Darrow and you work in our R&D team. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey, Jordan. I'm Yoni. I'm the data platform team lead here at Darrow, part of, as you said, the R&D team. I've been working at Darrow for the past 2.5 years. And prior to that, I was a data engineer in different roles and different companies from large corporates to really, really small startups. And just before joining Darrow, I finished binge watching Suits. So I think Darrow came as a perfect fit for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Suits is a gateway drug for many lawyers and other people coming to the legal world. So you're not alone on that one. Let's have a look. I think we've got enough people here to start. So let's get into things. So yes, welcome everyone if you've just joined us to today's webinar. Today we're going to be talking a bit about how lawyers and attorneys and R&D teams can work together to build legal technology that solves real-world challenges. And this is something that I'm quite passionate about. I've been a lawyer for almost 10 years now. And when I started, this whole world of legal tech wasn't really a thing. Of course, we had Westlaw, we had LexisNexis, and they're great for doing legal researches and for doing particular searches. But it's only been in the last few years, of course, with the AI boom, that we now have this whole incredible industry of technology specifically designed for lawyers to help us be better at our jobs, to be faster, to be more accurate, and to just be better at the things we do. And we have things like Harvey and Midpage and ChatGPT and Claude. And for me, these tools, they all do slightly different things. But for me, when I think about the way that I have practiced law, it's often the small details and the small fine things that turn a great case into an amazing case. And often these things can be quite hard to find. I kind of think of them as kind of like scattered like stars in the sky. You have all these data points. They're out there floating across hundreds of thousands of federal and state court dockets. So they're difficult to find. And even if you do find them, I have no idea, and most lawyers have no idea how to process all that data to extract anything meaningful out of it. And Yoni, I can see you're dying to speak here because I know that
it's just too much information for one person to process, and as you said, everything is scattered, and sometimes too much is actually harmful than just having less data. You get lost in the vast amount of all the data out there.
It's an experience that many lawyers will be familiar with, kind of feeling overwhelmed with data, and especially if it's data that is so dispersed and also raw and completely unprocessed. And in the R&D team, Yoni, you're a specialist in dealing with this sort of thing, right? And you've been working with lawyers a lot to make something useful out of it.
Yes, I'm really excited on this new era of not only legal products, but specifically AI legal products that need to understand the whole intent and the story behind what our users, either lawyers, insurers, and everything in between, what they want to get out of this data. I think one of the challenges here is that the legal tech field is something that's fairly new, with lots of untapped potential. That the data in this universe, from my end, is complex. You have so many nuances because at the end, law is not something
Well, I
deterministic.
mean, not yeah, it's not something that can be put in a binary in the way that tech teams often want to do. But even just, and I've worked with you for a few years now, but when I first heard the word scraping, I thought it was like scraping a bowl like you're making a cake. But things like scraping and tagging, and the way that you process data, for me, it's absolutely astounding. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about this, and the things that you're able to do with the data out there?
So I can give you a specific example on one of our use cases, on the settlement toolkit that we worked together. And this is one of the most interesting and difficult projects that we encountered. Also because of how complex it is, and also how there's yes, but at the end of every sentence.
I know about this. It's something I absolutely know about. But before we jump into the details about this, I want to say why this type of settlement data is so crucial for attorneys and lawyers. I mean, anyone who is dealing with litigation, and especially class actions, needs to know what the value of the case could be. So if you are a plaintiff's lawyer and you are about to file a case, you need to have an idea about other similar cases and how they settled.
It's funny that you mentioned other similar cases, because that's, I think, a topic for a whole different webinar. But how you define a similar case? I think just a small point on that every lawyer has his own point of view. And how do you take all of this point of view and put it into an AI legal product? Fascinating work there.
It's immense work. It's absolutely immense. And yes, you're exactly right. We want to find similar cases. It's hard to know that, but it's even hard to just know what cases are out there, and similar settlements, because we want this to know if this case that we're about to file is something really valuable and something that we should be investing a huge amount of time and energy into discovery and the whole litigation process. Or we might see similar cases and data from there and realize, well, actually, this case is unlikely to settle for the value that I thought it would. And that's just the beginning. Like, if a case is going well, or maybe even if it isn't going well, you're going to end up in a negotiating room with the other side, whether you're a defendant or a plaintiff. And at that point, you're going to need to know how to pitch an offer. And sometimes, certainly in the past, it could feel like you're almost trying to pluck numbers out of thin air, especially in the class action sphere. But seeing other settlements and cases that are broadly similar, however you categorize it, can really ground the numbers you give to the other side, and set a really good place for negotiations going forward.
Exactly, and I say that it's going to be probably a bottleneck also with AI and how everything is going. Everyone wants to do everything much faster and not to be stuck on these processes. So if you are able to give some sort of a grounded truth and explanation for why you came with that exact number.
Exactly. I mean, it needs to be based on data, right? It can't be something hallucinated either by a lawyer or by a large language model AI platform. Having the data behind it is what makes it really serious and makes you really credible as an attorney. And yeah, just thinking the other field where this type of data is really useful is in the insurance world, because often insurers are kind of the people behind the scenes, backstage in all this litigation. They might be paying a settlement. They need to know, okay, well, how much are we going to cover here? And they also need to know, like, oh, okay, how much are we exposed to here? And having
Exactly.
all of this data from previous cases gives them a good indication of this.
Yes, at the end, they are the ones who are paying. So,
It's very crucial. It's very crucial. So there's this need to have accurate data out there about settlements, but it is spread across thousands of immense numbers of dockets in federal court and in state court. It is hard to find and hard to process. I think this is something you
and
know
even more
firsthand.
how to generalize, because for every use case, every different practice area, each case looks really different. So how do you create a system? And that was our challenge together, is how to create a system that can work on any type of docket.
Exactly right. Like I know you have this process of scraping, making the cake, and taking the data from all the dockets. And once you get that, you have to understand it. You have to categorize it. And of course, there are AI tools that can help us with that. But we also know that as fantastic as AI is, it can make mistakes sometimes. It can hallucinate a little bit. And you're not a lawyer, Yomi. So you aren't necessarily able to know where AI is maybe making a mistake. You need lawyers to help you with this.
Exactly, and it's more to how do we direct our AI products to understand the full flow and to have your knowledge and experience as part of their flow. I can say, for example, that if at the beginning we only looked at monetary settlement because we wanted to present an X amount of dollars. But reality is that there are non-monetary settlements. And if we don't tell the AI to look for non-monetary settlements and how to acknowledge them and how to read them, it won't do that.
You're exactly right. Like sometimes this non-monetary relief, whether it's injunctive or some other kind of voucher benefit or something else, can be very, very meaningful to the parties, whether it's significant for the plaintiff or very, very significant to the defendant. And if you are just looking at the data that is scraped by the tools, you wouldn't know that there is this other thing out. There are these other things out there that are really relevant. You need a lawyer to be able to tell you that, right? It's
Exactly,
crucial.
that was actually that's how we started. We started with these iterations of we develop the product, we work on it with you, we understand the results, and we try to improve our internal models for the next iteration. And I think that one of our key changes in our techniques, because this technique was very time consuming and also hard because we have very different point of views. I like to see things as deterministic, and I want to know, is it going to be either A or B? And you gave me the story behind it. And I think one of the changes was, hey, I think we can do something with that story behind it. And what we did was we took a concept from engineering. We did reverse engineering on your thought process. We took all the end results and see how can we track to the original number, and how we can create all these different types of flows, and we save in our databases for the AI the whole reasoning of that thought process. And when our agents and models try to extract the settlement, or how we present it inside the tools, they have the whole the term of the AI context. The whole context is based on your experience and knowledge.
Wow. Wow. So it's really the lawyers and the attorneys kind of our expertise is directly fed into this tool, and that's really what makes it useful, right? If that hadn't been part of it, what would we have? Something pretty bad.
Pretty bad. That for me, maybe as an engineer, it would look nice, but at the end, this tool is for lawyers and insurers, and they're the experts. And if they will see something that is not really helping them getting insights that they couldn't connect together in a reasonable time, even though they have the technique, it's all how to take that technique to an extreme with AI and unlock its full potential.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's quite incredible, really, when you think about it like that. I mean, one other example that I remember working on with you and with some other people on my team where we really collaborated was looking still in the settlement world and trying to make sense of this settlement data. And we wanted to understand how the progress of litigation might affect the settlement value of a case. And so we had this vast pool of settlement data, and we're not talking about dozens of cases, right? It's thousands. How much do we have in the database?
There are tens of thousands new filing each year, specifically in federal class action, and we're doing it on the span of past years too, to analyze and to see trends and see the emerging trends, and really to understand the full story.
So what? There must be hundreds of thousands then, if we're talking about many years.
Exactly, and if we look at the exact data points and documents, and either it's the settlement related documents, could be also the whole story behind attorney fees and statuses of the case, and what was the settlement at preliminary approval and versus the end.
Exactly. This is the point I'm wanting to say. Like we're not just looking at hundreds of thousands of dockets. There is all the surrounding data that we're looking at, and we had this context of trying to understand the progress of the case. And whether the settlement happened before motion to dismiss or after motion to dismiss, or before class certification or before or after summary judgment. And we wanted to understand whether this point in litigation could have a meaningful effect on settlement value. And our hypothesis was that it did, but we needed to be able to prove that with the data. And suddenly this adds a huge amount of complexity to the already hundreds of thousands of data points we're working with, turns it into probably millions of data points. And we had to work through this together, and even just identifying whether a case had kind of past motion to dismiss was not a straightforward issue, right?
Yeah, that was even a surprise for me to understand here. Not every case even have motion to dismiss.
Or even, was a motion to dismiss filed? What does it mean if it's filed and then mooted? How do we process that bit of data? How does that feed into our models? It's so...
all these how questions. I think this is the real big difference between all the LLMs out there and the exact AI tools we have in-house. We added that layer, and this is a unique, we're in a unique position because we have engineers and lawyers sitting right next to each other to create these products.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And at the end of the day, of course, a lawyer can't sit there manually reviewing 100,000 dockets for kind of 50 million data points, so to speak. But we were able to work on samples iteratively, refining things over and over again. So our models became more and more accurate every time. And now we're able to kind of make really, really good estimations about how litigation progress can affect settlement data. And I mean, it's incredible.
It's incredible. It's really unique. The whole effort to create really that specific information that is not available out there.
Wow. I mean, and it's a testament to what can happen when lawyers kind of can use their expertise alongside engineers and R&D people like you. We can create something that is far beyond the sum of its parts, far beyond.
And I think we still have a long way to go on improving our feedback loop and iterations and how to make that process even much more efficient.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because I mean, when we started this, I mean, there's kind of a stereotype, like when you say, when you talk about lawyers and engineers, in some ways, it could sound like the beginning of a bad joke, like a lawyer and an engineer walk into a bar. We stereotypically have very different approaches to thinking about data, right? This is at least something that I experienced. We touched on it before. You want things to be clearly categorized. Yes or no, is it this or that, binary? And that's very important when you're processing data. Lawyers, we live in this world of contingencies where things aren't clear. Even seemingly simple questions can have an answer of, well, it depends. And I can imagine for you, it would have been quite unsatisfying at the beginning to have this.
At the beginning, definitely, I really hated these types of answers. But now I think it's understanding and solving it.
At the start, I have to confess that I wanted to bang my head against the wall a little bit, being asked, "Is it this or that?" And I think, "No, it's not, it's neither. It's really hard." It's
And now I really appreciate this type of answers because I understood that's how we're gonna improve our products and how we're gonna have that specific edge is that we are able to answer on those specific but it's something else. I think in the difference between regular legal products that there were before, you had types of filters and specific boxes and search terms that you had to search exactly, but you couldn't really tell it a whole story of what we need. And I think that's in the new age of AI legal products is more on not the exact and concrete fields and more on how do we take this story and make it into a product.
Yeah. A lawyer is able to speak in their natural language. A lawyer is able to speak in their natural language with an engineer, giving an answer that takes into account all the context, and then you're able to say, okay, this is actually useful information to me. This is not a waste of time. I can still do something with this and process this. And for me, it's also I can give answers and work with you using my natural language, but I've also been forced to think, well, I need to explain myself a lot more and say why this depends, so you can be most useful.
Sometimes you have a hunch, and transforming a hunch into something that's inside a code is like, I think, one of the most really challenging things that we have to do here. It's really something amazing.
It's incredible. and it's been such a kind of career highlight to work on this sort of thing, and to not just go through the really hard stuff, but to see it start to bear fruit, and to I mean, I don't even think we can imagine today what the world is going to look like for legal tech in 2 years, let alone 5 or 10 years. What we'll be able to do.
I can say, looking at what happened in the past 2 years, I really, looking back, I couldn't imagine we could do the stuff that we're doing today, and that it's going to take only 2 years to do that. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
There's huge potential out there. Um, Actually, I see we have some questions coming through. Let's take a look at those, and see what we have. Oh, I see a good one here, actually, and this is very useful. What types of legal problems are still the hardest for technology and AI tools to solve today? That's tricky.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. I can say, from our point of view here at Darrow, something that really that is part of our main focus is how do we know what's going to be the next emerging trend in litigation? What's going to happen next? How specific judges are going to rule? And at the end, it's predicting a bit human behavior, but still grounded to something. But that's a really hard challenge.
You're taking a very strategic approach to this. I like it. I like it. How can we how can we kind of how can we know what to focus on in the future? Where's the strategy going to be? And I think one of the you kind of mentioned it a little bit. It's going to be really important, but also very difficult. Is this idea of judges' reasoning, and we're not. It's something in an entirely different world, away from numbers and did something pass motion to dismiss. We're starting to get into the reasoning, and human language, and being able to categorize that and tag that, and then be able to use predictive modeling for that type of thing. And how can we predict that judges will approach something? What type of reasoning will they use? And I think one day we'll be able to look at individual judges, and see how they're going to approach problems using data at scale.
And and how can we even know what's going to be at the end here? Specifically, if we're looking at action litigation, what's going to be the next real the next real issue we can find, and I don't know if prevent is the correct word, but to uh, to alert the world on something that's happening before it becomes something too late.
Yeah, you raise a good point about legal risk, and kind of being able to use predictive technology, and data to predict that and to see where that will go. It's pretty
I,
incredible.
I, I think your term, the legal risk, exactly is how will we know what's going to be the next major risk in legal? Is it going to be something related to AI liability once everyone is starting to use AI tools, or is it going to be something else? And how can we know it ahead of time?
Yeah, you're right, and I think we're only going to know it if we have lawyers and engineers working together. Because if we're kind of in our own separate worlds, then we're missing the forest for the trees. It's we really need to be able to collaborate, and put our skills together to be able to make the most of this data and see where the patterns are. Um, it's very exciting. There are a few more questions, but unfortunately, I think that's all we have time for today. Yoni, it's been a pleasure talking to you in this
I
format.
really enjoyed our conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of chatting outside of the context of crunching numbers and trying to understand data. It's been a real joy talking to you. So thank you for coming on. And yeah, thank you to all our listeners. We hope you've found this interesting. If you're interested in hearing more about Darrow's legal tech or more about what we do, please do be in contact with us. Our email address is contacts@darrow.ai. You can also find us on the World Wide Web, on LinkedIn, or any of the usual legal channels. You can also reach out to me personally on LinkedIn, and I think you too, Yoni. So
Yes,
it
definitely.
would be a delight to hear from you. And I, once again, thank you all for coming, and we'll be in touch.